Hello, welcome back to Live Vedanta, a podcast about simple living and high thinking. Before we embark on our next season of the show, we are excited to delve into a mini-series on the transitions in our life that have changed us. And we're focusing on stories from within our community. People like you who might listen to the podcast or be involved with Chinmaya Mission Niagara's broader courses and cultures. But before we tune into our first story, I wanted to introduce myself, make this a little bit more personal. My name is Nina. First and foremost, I'm interested in self-development and creating a really inclusive culture for making that happen. When I'm not supporting Live Vedanta, I am a therapist and an artist. And I've always been really curious about these specific moments in time that have shaped who we are and might have been informed by our relationship with Vedanta. And that's why we call it a sea change, right? A sea change is, if we looked it up in the dictionary, means a profound or notable transition or transformation. And I think you will get a really sweet glimpse of these sea change moments. You'll be able to see the change, if you pardon the pun. And when we're able to dig a little bit deeper, there might be something there that we can apply into our own lives. Who knows? Anyway, I am so glad you're here. In this first episode, we're talking to Lavanya. She's a seeker based in North Carolina and a young professional. We started to explore one specific moment in her life, one where she had to grapple with some of the pressures of the workplace environment.
I was going to share about just taking a step back from what society had defined as success for me and just really taking a step back from my, corporate career and just trying to figure out what is intentional for me and what made sense for me in the next stage of my life.
In this transition, how old were you? Take me back.
Yeah, so I was in my late 20s and I had a great job, and it was, fulfilling a lot of things in my life, like the kind of lifestyle I wanted to live, the kind of definition of success that I thought was what I was supposed to seek when I was in my 20s. And it was a great experience. I learned a lot about myself, but I was really just starting to take a hit on my health, both my physical and my mental health. And I think that's what really forced me in a way to pause and be like, okay, what do I really want out of my life next? And I think that taking that, job that was more aligned to the kind of healthy lifestyle I wanted was the right move. But I took a few months to pause before and I was like, okay, what kind of life do I want for myself? I want to be able to slow down. I want to be able to invest more in self-development, whatever that looks like, physical exercise, more seva, more time with my guides. And, really with Bhagwan's grace, I was able to find that opportunity. And a lot of things aren't aligned with how society would define success, like in terms of salary, in terms of the flashy corporateness. But really, I just feel like a healthier version of myself now. And obviously, some of that is important, right? Like finances, managing that is important. But I'm really grateful that I was able to do that. I know it comes from immense privilege to be able to do that. So, yeah.
I'm going to ask a couple of questions that gets us more into that moment in time as you were making these decisions about that transition. What did success mean to you in that time of your life?
Yeah, when I was in my 20s, I was like, oh, I'm going to make a ton of money and be able to buy everything lavish that I want, all the vacations, a humongous house, whatever, find somebody who matches that financial strength. I have to have all of these things to be able to be a productive member of society and very comparison oriented too, right? When you work in corporate, it's okay, how much are you making? What kind of title do you have? And I was giving into all of that. I really thought that was what I wanted out of my life. So yeah, probably very textbook, corporate textbook definition of success. I studied a lot. That was really important to me to be able to have all those titles and to be able to have that perfect resume, all of the above.
It doesn't sound like this was an overnight realization. What were some of the moments that allowed you to start putting two and two together that this is not what you wanted?
Yeah, I think just a steady decline in physical and mental health, just not sleeping as much, not tending to like my food or my physical exercise. Like all I was thinking, even if I wasn't at work, I was thinking about it. Like I'd be like up at 2 a.m. Like, okay, like what am I going to do tomorrow? Like, how am I going to be able to do this? Or how am I going to be able to do that? So just not being able to shut off. And I think over time, I think most of the time I just ignored it. I was like, oh, this is normal. Like this is how you know you're successful if you're thinking about work and working all the time. And so then over time, as it was like really starting to knock on my health, and I was what, like 27, 28, I was still really young. So for me to be like, I'm not sleeping, I'm not eating, like that just wasn't sustainable. And so I wasn't as proactive, right? I waited till it really took a hit for me to be like, okay, I have to take some sort of action.
Do you remember the moment when you decided to like step away from this job?
Yeah. It wasn't like a very like pretty floral situation. I think it was very much, okay, this has to be done because I feel like if I keep going in this, like I'm just going to regret it in terms of being able to not tend to my physical health, not tend to my mental health. Like I said, it wasn't a proactive thing. It was almost like a reactive thing. It was really helpful for me to be like, okay, I can't just jump into the next job, right? Because one option was I just take a different job. But luckily, I took a few months to really just recuperate. Like during those few months, I was like, okay, I'm just going to rest. I'm just going to really reevaluate what I think the next steps are going to look like for me.
I mean, rest is such an interesting word, and you're like coming from this intense corporate environment, and then suddenly you're in this space of time and maybe time to recuperate. Was that hard? Like, did rest come naturally? Like, what did you have to unlearn?
No, that's such a good question because I feel like I struggle with that even now. Like it just feels like I constantly have to have every moment of my life accounted for in terms
Mm.
of productivity. And so initially, like those first few weeks, all I wanted to do was like jump on and be like, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? But I had to force myself at first to literally just sleep and like eat well and like take care of basic functions, and not to take those for granted. And that's when I really was able to like get back up and, really reflect and think after I had tended to those basic physical safety things. I think now even that's why I have it built into my schedule is like, okay, for a half a day, I'm literally just going to tend to my body and like eat what I need to eat, sleep as much as I need to sleep, do things that are just simple. I don't have to think a lot, whether it's watching TV, whether it's engaging in something creative, whether it's going on a solo date, all of the above. I think that experience really helped me figure out that like rest as in not feeling like you have to be productive or just forcing yourself not to be productive, whatever productivity means to you. And I just think that that's something that's so silly that society really encourages the opposite.
Yeah, it's both like society encourages the opposite, but also we're both South Asian. It's also a cultural expectation around achieving. How did the people around you, whether it was family or friends, how did they respond to this?
Yeah, I mean, my family was really supportive, so I appreciate that. I luckily, like, I really was able to tap into my guides throughout my
Mhm.
life and just talk to them and have really vulnerable, open conversations with them and the support there. Again, it does come from privilege, right? Like I had my basic security needs met, right? Even if I was going to be unemployed, I had a place to stay, I had some savings, so I recognize that. And yeah, having I feel like I continually struggle with interacting with people and just some people I think are understanding. Some people I think just straight up pity me because they're like, oh, this person can't hold a steady job. This person doesn't have it, hasn't met like societal expectations of like being in a relationship by a certain age. So just being able to be confident in the path that you're on and be like, this is my journey and I'm happy with it. And I feel really blessed and grateful, is something that I'm working on. Like having that inner confidence so that it exudes when I'm talking to people and I don't feel like I'm falling prey to that pressure of like, oh, but like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you meeting this expectation? Or why aren't you meeting this expectation? It is isolating to be on this path of like, I want to be able to dedicate more to my own growth, my own self development, to not feed into this like corporate climbing ladder. Like, I don't think there are many people who feel that way. But luckily within our community, within my local community, there have been people who are like, yeah, like I completely resonate with that. That's great. Like, so because of that support, I feel like I was able to speak up and I'm still working on it. Like, how can I be more confident in how I put myself out there?
Yeah, I go back and forth
Mm-hmm.
in my own growth and progress on that. So it's like it's personally really helpful to hear you process this period of your life and like where you want to go next. when you're like looking back, is there anything that you would tell yourself about navigating that time?
I think I had my identity so wrapped up in who I was as a professional. Like, I feel like when somebody asks you, like, oh, like, what do you do? That's the first thing you respond, right? This is my career. This is my degree that I got. This is my career. And I didn't realize how tightly wrapped up that it was. And that I felt like when it wasn't there, I was like, who am I? Like, now I'm a nobody. And so now, even when I interact with seekers, I'm like, not having a job or like not having that professional identity is not a big deal. In fact, I find people who have a more well-rounded identity way more interesting and way more secure, because your jobs are going to come and go, and like that title is not yours, right? Like that title is not mine. It's just a title that many people are going to be rotating through. So I wish I'd just been like, listen, like your identity isn't fully wrapped up in your profession, and there's so much more to explore, and you become a more well-rounded person, I think, when you dismantle that.
Yeah, I'm even thinking like in Vedanta and Sanatana Dharma, there's like so many examples of figures and characters who like did something totally different before they became
Mm-hmm.
a seeker, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So I guess they're well rounded in that sense as well.
And I think a lot of it is just like, it was a journey that I was meant to go on. Like there's no other way it could have been. Sometimes I'm like, oh, like what if I had done this, or what if but there was no what if, right? This is what was meant to happen. And in all honesty, I think that's when I really started taking self-development more seriously, is when I hit rock bottom, quote unquote. I think I was just I was flirting with it until then. I was like, oh, like if I have time, I'll do this, or if I have time, like, oh, it'll be nice to do this. But I think that's when I was like, no, this needs to be integrated into my life, whether I like, whether wherever life takes me in terms of career, etc.
So in terms of like the self-development practices that you invested in as you were divesting from like this rat race, what resonated with you? What have you found grounding or useful in your journey?
I definitely think Seva in all aspects, whether it's been through our community, through Chinmaya Mission, or outside, just being able to see different perspectives and just be like, there's more out there than just the typical person that I've been working with or the typical person that I've been interacting with. So seeing different perspectives. And I think Seva is a really great way to do that. Investing more time with my guides. I think just being with Vivekji more in person, and just seeing how great people live their lives has been really inspirational. And I'm really grateful that I've been able to do more of that in this phase. And I would totally suggest that being around role models, really like people who you value their value system, to be around. So that has helped tremendously in trying to figure out what my next steps are.
And if I asked you to like introduce Lavanya in this season of life, like how would you want to introduce yourself?
That's such an interesting question. I think, and I don't know how this is going to come out. So I'm just like navigating what a healthy lifestyle looks for someone. And yeah, like what is a healthy relationship with finances? What is a healthy relationship with my career? What is a healthy relationship with my parents, with my peers? And just trying to constantly navigate how to align that with self-development and how to just focus on myself and not worry about what society is pressuring me to do. So I feel like I'm on this path now, and I'm kind of carving it out for myself. I often feel isolated, maybe a little bit, that I'm not following that quote unquote traditional path. So yeah, navigating that for myself.
You know, I think what you're sharing is very valuable for me to hear, for other people who might be listening to the podcast to hear, because I don't know, like I hear you share some feeling isolated and at points in this journey, and I'm like, well, you know, I feel this way too.
Oh
Like
man.
I think there's a lot more of us
Yeah.
who are like trying to figure that out. Like, what does it mean to invest in self development in a way that isn't like associated with this sort of capitalist productivity framework of moving through the world?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. Like, we're all isolated but together.
Yeah. But that's why I think when we connect, right, in our community, it's not superficial. We kind of are able to share vulnerably, and I think that's one of my favorite parts of our community, is just being able to connect with seekers in a much deeper level. Like I don't even think about age, or like with our community, I'm not like, oh, what do you do for a living? Like I'm not, those are like irrelevant to me. So I like that.
And so just even like going back to that question of the introduction, like how would you introduce yourself?
I would say I am somebody navigating finding balance in life and taking maybe a road not yet paved,
Mm.
but getting there, finding that balance.
As you share it, like it makes so much sense that the parts of our community that you're involved in are like with youth culture and like working with our teens, but also mentorship sangha and
Mhm.
like helping other people revolve around role models. Can you tell me a little bit more about mentorship sangha, how it works? What do you like about it?
Yeah.
What do you think people should know about it?
Oh yeah, I think mentorship sangha is so awesome. I wish I had something like that when I was growing up. So basically mentorship sangha is for really geared towards our high schoolers, our university students in that phase, being matched up with our Chinmaya Setukaris who are, so our mentees are in the age range of 15 to 28, and then our mentors are about 29 to 45, about roughly. And it's really just about having a self-development buddy. So like, as you know, we were sharing, Nina, about feeling isolated in this and feeling like maybe you're on a different path than some of your peers. Having somebody to talk to about that and just be like, hey, I'm going through this. Like, so it's much more just about talking about day-to-day life and how to navigate it from this lens. So maybe you're making that relationship decision, maybe you're making a decision around your career, and just talking about it with somebody who has a similar value system as you. And Vivek G and our team really works hard to make sure that we're matching our mentors and mentees accordingly based off of where they are in their life stage. And, I've benefited so much from talking to my mentees, and I don't even think about it as a mentor mentee. I think it's just having that friendship rooted in self development. And it's really hard to find people who are ready to be vulnerable and to share and to really be there for each other. I think so much of life now is just a bunch of acquaintances and superficiality. So it's nice to have that depth in a relationship.
Yeah, cutting out the small talk and like moving to what's more
Mm-hmm.
meaningful, it sounds like.
Yeah.
How would people get involved if they wanted to be involved with the program?
Sure. Yeah. So we're, actively taking applications for mentors and mentees. It's on the Chinmaya Mission Niagara website. If you go to mentorship sangha around the space, I believe. And yeah, we'll work hard with Vivek G, Hard and Smart to get you matched, whether you're a mentor or mentee.
So cool. It's been so meaningful to see it flourish in all of these different ways and like people of different ages connecting with each other in in a way that's aligned with your value system. That's really cool. You've been so instrumental in making that happen.
Yeah, Nina, I think you're the one who matched me with my initial mentee. So it's cool. It's like full circle.
Yeah, that's the beauty of being in the community, right? Like I was thinking about this before we hit record was that we get to we don't always get to see each other, but
Mm-hmm.
we're always in community with each other. So it's always very natural when we do get to
Oh,
have this time
totally.
to, to like just speak and talk. And in fact, anyone who's listening to the podcast is getting an insight to what a kind of normal conversation between the two of us might look like,
Totally.
actually.
I love that. I love that, no matter how long has passed, because we both have that kind of root in self development and just wanting to grow and be vulnerable. Like we can just cut right to the deep stuff in a good way.
Mm. I think people in our sort of age range might, are grappling with the same sort of professional questions that you were alluding to in this time of transition, but also might be figuring out what they need in terms of certain like friendships in their
Mhm.
life. Like what have you noticed in your relationships since you really took that space and time to be clear on your purpose and what you wanted next?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that I think people in general will just come and go, and the people who are, as cliche as it sounds, the people who are meant to stay will stay. And I think that I did have some people pleasing tendencies. So I'm like, oh, like I'm not going to share too much, or like, oh, like even initially I'd be like, oh, I'm not going to tell them about like the Thursday class that I'm in or this Seva. Like I'll just, because I don't want people to think I'm weird. But I think as I started to become more confident in this path, I was like, hey, this is something that's important to me. And like, if you can't, like, if I don't know if this is going to sound harsh, but if you don't respect that this is important to me and this is good for my personal evolution, then this friendship might not be as strong as I thought. So just like respecting, I think for me, the people who really understood and respected kind of stayed. And it's surprising, right? Like I sometimes struggle communicating about the path that I've chosen or just investing in more self-development, Seva. But a lot of people are like, that's cool. Like, that's great that you have that for yourself and that you feel like that's healthy for you and like just supportive. And it's okay. I think the biggest thing is it's okay if people don't understand. If that kind of causes that friendship to drift, that's okay. Like, you don't have to force everyone to understand. And there is, I love my alone time, right? Like, I feel like because when you're doing things that fulfill you, you're like, I don't need that extra time to be able to like socialize as much. Like, I'm happy to just take that time to myself and reflect. So it's okay if people don't understand, and the right people will stick. I think a true friend continues to want the best for you and challenges you. And yeah, I think alone time is as important as having good friends. God.
What are your favorite ways to spend with just yourself?
I really think that Vivekji has inspired me to engage in more alone time and like doing things that I traditionally feel like I would have to go with somebody. Like now I was literally just texting the mentorship Sangha group yesterday. Like I'm obsessed with going to the movies alone now. Like I'm like, nope, I'm doing this alone. Like I'm getting all the snacks I want. That I would say. And then I just love going to like a cafe and just sitting there with a latte and just reflecting, just people watching. And yeah, I want to do more things alone that I feel like traditionally I've been like too, quote, scared. As not, like going to a dinner alone and being like, oh, like what are people going to think of me, right? Like I think I'm just finding more joy in doing those things because I'm more present. No, thanks for having me, Nina. I'm really looking forward to this series and it was great catching up.
Maybe after this conversation with Lavanya, you're inspired to share your own story of transition through the lens of Vedanta. And we'd love for you to send a voice memo about it, a little voicemail, if you will. You can leave a short message, or two, since they're about 90 seconds long, at speakpipe.com/livevedanta. The link will be in our show notes. In particular, we're looking for stories of transition that might be more difficult to talk about in our community. And if you want to go back and hear previous seasons of Live Vedanta, you can find us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And you can learn more about Chinmaya Mission Niagara at chinmayaniagara.com. We have a whole host of weekly courses and communities that will be starting up this fall, and registration will be live on the evening of August 19th. Until next time, inspire, love,